Burlington, New Jersey, Margaret Ellen Fox had recently completed the 8th grade at St. Paul's School and was eager to begin high school the following fall. Although Margaret often made discreet comments about how her parents could be stern at times, by all accounts her family life was not just solid but also full of happiness and love. Margaret was known as a kind and humble young girl who devoted most of her time to helping out at home. Margaret's father mentioned in an interview that she had started her 2nd year of piano lessons and had grown to love the instrument. He also shared that Margaret loved watching the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Maude, which provide a nostalgic glimpse into life in 1974. Even today, when a child is 14 years old, one of the most popular ways to generate money is by babysitting, which is what Margaret and her cousin Lynn, who was 11 years old, were going to do. On June the 18th, 1974, Margaret and her cousin published an advertisement for their babysitting services in the neighborhood newspaper. They provided 2 phone numbers, one for Margaret and the other for Lynn. The next day, a man contacted Lynn at the first available number and asked her to look after his 5-year-old son. Due to their discomfort with the distance, Lynn's parents rejected the proposal and did not permit their daughter to accept the position. Later that day, Margaret received a call from the same man, who introduced himself as John Marshall. He asked her to start watching his 5-year-old child on Friday and offered her $40 a week for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. John Marshall requested that they reschedule Margaret to begin her babysitting job on the following Monday, June the 24th. After several phone conversations in the days that followed, Margaret received instructions to take the bus from Burlington to Mount Holly. John told her to get off at the bus stop closest to the intersection of Mill and High Streets and wait for his wife's red Volkswagen to pick her up. On June the 24th, 1974, Margaret woke up eager to begin her new job and finally experience independence. After leaving their Burlington, New Jersey home, Margaret and her brother Joseph set off on the short journey to the bus station, just a few blocks away. Once there is a brief wait before the bus departs for Mount Holly, New Jersey at 8:45 a.m. Unaware that this would be the last time he would see his sister, Joseph waves goodbye to Margaret as she enters the bus. Later, a few witnesses who had been bus riders came forward to state that they had seen Margaret board the bus and described the young woman as having lots of freckles and a happy disposition. However, no one could recall which bus stop she stopped off at. According to an eyewitness, Margaret was talking to a man in his 20s who drove a red sports car. However, this person was excused from any suspicion. Unfortunately, no one saw Margaret again after that encounter. When Margaret's mother, Mary, realized she had not returned home, she called a number left by John Marshall, but it turned out to be a payphone outside of a grocery store in Burlington, New Jersey. Despite their efforts, Margaret's parents could not locate her and became increasingly worried. Around 12:30 a.m., they called the Burlington City Police Department to report Margaret missing after failing to locate her. A brief but unsettling ransom phone call arrives at the Fox residence 4 days after Margaret was last seen.
$10,000 might be a lot of bread, but your daughter's life is the butter topping.
Who is it?
Fortunately, the FBI officers recorded the call as it was being received. The Fox family received the first of 2 letters the following day, on June the 29th, 1974. The letter begins with the same phrase as the Ransom phone call. $10,000 is a lot of bread, but your daughter's life is the buttered topping. 2 days later, a different letter arrived that contained the words, $10,000 was a lot of bread, and your daughter's life was the buttered topping. The signature on this letter read, "So long again," with the letters S, L, and A displaced slightly. The investigators determined that the second letter's author wanted to convey that the ransom exchange plan was no longer viable, although the language used was very similar to that of the first letter. In August of 1974, the FBI released a sketch of a male suspect they were seeking. The suspect is described as a white male aged between 35 and 40 with bright blue eyes, light blonde hair or reddish graying hair, styled in a crew cut, and noticeably white teeth. Investigators also suspect this man attempted to pick up young girls in Mount Holly, New Jersey before Margaret vanished, and he was driving a red-orange Volkswagen. On November the 23rd, 1975, a 53-year-old man in a prison in Philadelphia confessed to abducting, killing, and tossing Margaret's body off a cliff in the neighboring Catskill Mountains in New York. After a few months, the man retracts his statement and claims that the incident was a gigantic hoax. Later, the police were able to clear him. The FBI made the ransom phone call public after 45 years, along with an improved version of a second age progression picture depicting Margaret's potential appearance at 56. Authorities also disclosed a $25,000 reward for information that results in the capture and conviction of the person or people responsible for Margaret's disappearance. Margaret was 14 years old with brown hair and blue eyes when she vanished in 1974. She weighed about 105 pounds and she was about 5 foot 2 inches tall. At the time of her disappearance, Margaret was missing 2 top, front, right teeth, and she had freckles. She wore glasses with hexagonal lenses, gold wire frames, and had shattered temple and nose pieces. Margaret wore a waist-length jacket in a white and black check pattern, a pair of maroon pants with a yellow patch on one knee, and a pair of brown sandals with a heel strap. Margaret had a Huckleberry Hound-themed glasses case and carried a brown purse. This will be included in my series on missing and murdered babysitters. I apologize for not being able to provide you with more images of Margaret. Online, there are not many images of her or her family. I decided to repair her 2 photos as best as I could. Due to the paucity of images, I almost chose not to cover this one, but this tale is the poster child for Crimes Forgotten by Time. Instead, I decided to do extensive research and identify every location I could show you. I want to see this child receive justice. This case can be solved, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on this case, and do you think that her remains can be found? Share your thoughts with me. I love talking to you in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.